Man, what's happening with y'all guys? It's Ashton Williams coming to you live again with another amazing episode of the Melanated Travelers Podcast. And y'all already know what we stand for, man. This show is inspired to inspire the African diaspora to travel the world, to share experiences, to share travel stories, to share inspiration, man, with amazing travel influencers and business owners from around the world. It's made for the people and by the people, man. So I got an amazing guest. Before we get into the guest, first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of episode 29, African Ancestry. For those that don't know, again, this is not a knock at Ancestry.com or 23andMe, but I don't need those two companies don't need to tell me that I'm black, brother. I'm already black. But we got something that's dedicated to us. African Ancestry can tell you exactly what tribe you come from in Africa. And for those that, are from the lost tribe, for people that don't really know where they come from, it's very important for you to go ahead on and take that test. So you can see, man, where you come from to have a sense of pride, to have a sense of unity, to have a sense of, you know what, like this is where I come from. Maybe that might intrigue you to go over there and go see that country. It's very important, man. And like for me, I went ahead and took the test. I come to find out that my bloodline it goes all the way back to East Africa, man, in Kenya. And I'm gonna be honest, man. When I got that DNA test, I cried like a baby because for those that don't understand, man, most people, especially from where we from, brother, we gonna dive into to the guest because he can understand. Being from Louisiana and having like especially being from the River Parish, aka Gramercy, Louisiana, the River Parish, is plantations scattered all across the South Louisiana, and sometimes it's hard to determine, exactly where you come from. So I take pride in that, and I want y'all to feel that type of pride that I feel. So make sure y'all go ahead on and click the link in the show notes. Go ahead on and get that DNA test done so you can see where you come from. So without further ado, man, I want to dive into the guest of the evening today, man. I want to get into it. Donta Broussard, man, the AKA the Bearded Traveler. Brother is very, very, very just compassionate and wanting to inspire people to travel the world. He's a storyteller. He likes to connect with people. The thing that connects me and Donta, man, that I take pride in, man. Shout out to Louisiana, man. Shout out to the Louisiana natives. He's from Lafayette. For those that don't know, that means AKA Lafayette, Louisiana. That's Cajun country right there, man.
Yeah,
That's good
yeah,
old Cajun
man.
country. We're gonna dive a little bit into that type of culture as well, so people can understand that, you know, every part of Louisiana is not the same. We're gonna dive into that a
Mhm.
little bit. I feel like where we from, that area, the bottom, the south is a little better
Yeah,
shot. Nothing against my family members up
yeah.
north in Alexandria and all that, but the real Louisiana is at the bottom of the boot. You know what I'm saying? Another thing that we share, man, he actually was the first person in his family to graduate from college. He earned a degree in economics. What was amazing after he graduated, he embarked on a journey and traveled over to 24 countries and probably close to 25 right now, working on the 25th country. The thing that he promotes, man, is one of the things is that first of all, travel does not have to be expensive, right? So he travels on a budget. He shares experience and the beauties and the challenges of backpacking across Europe. He did that. We're gonna dive into that. And his travels are driven by just being open to learning, being open to growing, sharing meaningful stories to inspire everybody. And lastly, his mission is to encourage others, especially the underrepresented, which is the reason why we got this show popping and the reason why he's a guest on this show, because I know he's gonna be dropping gems to explore the world and to step out of their comfort zone. So, brother, I hope I gave you your flowers, man.
Thank
Donta
you, man.
Broussard, Bearded Traveler,
Appreciate
man. I
you.
want to welcome you to the Melanated Traveler, my brother.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you, man. Glad
Yes,
to be
sir. Yes, sir. Man, let's dive into it, man. Louisiana, man. Louisiana, Lafayette, man.
here. Stand up,
Lafayette.
man.
Hey, bro, like let's start off with the why. Like I guess
Mhm.
like for us, like being from South Louisiana, us like the family, like the family construct, like man, like what inspired you, like being from that area to
Mhm.
wanna like explore and expand, expand
Mhm.
your mind, expand your experiences with travel.
Yeah, man, growing up as a child, I was always that child that asked a ton of questions. I was always out doing something, exploring, just venturing off on my own. I always had that desire to just see more and do more and learn more, right? But as a young child, I didn't really realize where that, what was happening until I became an adult, right? And as I got older, I realized those same feelings, those same thoughts, those same desires to get out there and see the world as a child was still with me as an adult, man. And I realized that I had to really act on it. And as I aged, I saw more and more people around me, my loved ones die. And it put things into perspective for me that, man, time is short. There's so much to see in this world. And I want to at least see a good chunk of it before I leave this earth because there's no telling where I'm going to end up when I leave from here. So, man, I just, I just wanted to go get lost and be free above all was one of the things to be free because sometimes being in your home state, you're on a routine. You're 9 to 5. If you have a dog, you're taking care of your dog. If you got children, you're taking care of them children. It's that nonstop routine, and you feel you don't. There's no sense of freedom. You feel like you are in a jail cell. And I just didn't want to really feel that anymore. I'm like, man, like I work hard. I've been through so much in life. I want to get out there. I want to be free. I deserve to be free. So that's kind of where that came from.
Man, definitely, definitely. Like, man, what the bearded backpacker, man. For people that don't understand, like backpacking, I guess your philosophy and your thought process of how you came up with that term and how you go about traveling. Like, What's your way of traveling? Like when you say backpacker, because people, I got people asking already. Like when it comes to like the backpacking thing, like a lot of people want to condense their they items down. To be able to what I'm saying? Like, be versatile to move from country to country, state to state.
Mhm.
Like, how did you go about, like, coming up with that? Did you start off your travel experience with that?
Mhm.
Or did you start traveling and then say, you know what, maybe I can kind of like downsize and say, you know what, this is all I need. I don't need all that.
Yeah. Man, yeah, actually my first trip, it started off because I didn't have a lot of money. Like I just graduated college. I had just secured my first corporate job, but it really wasn't the best paying job, right? And I knew that I needed to save money and I couldn't spend a ton of money. And the backpack came along because, I'm a simple guy, man. I'm from the country, Louisiana. Things are slow, basketball shorts, flip flops, like
Right.
that's me, man. Like I don't need to get all dressed up and stuff. So another part of that was not having to pay for a baggage fee because I realized that paying for luggage,
Yeah.
man, you have to pay an extra $100, but you also risk the possibility of your stuff getting lost. And who wants to be in a new country? You don't have your clothes, you don't have nothing. You stuck, And I didn't want to risk none of that. So that's where the backpack came along, man. And I didn't even know what backpacking was. That's not something that's common in our community. I didn't know anyone that was doing it. I didn't even know it was a thing until I just kept doing it, man.
Man, definitely facts, bro. Facts. Man, what was the first country? Cause is that first one is always set the tone. That first one always set the tone. What's the first country you ever traveled to?
The first country I ever traveled to was Puerto Rico, man. Yeah, that was the first one. And when I traveled to Puerto Rico, I wasn't backpacking. It was just it was my first time, like, no, it was my second time flying. And mind you, man, I was afraid of heights, but I still went ahead and did it. But that trip to Puerto Rico was a friends group trip. And it was cool. It was like my first official time out the country, so I was amazed by everything. But man, in that moment, I still wanted to experience more because I felt like I didn't get the full feel of the place. I didn't learn anything about the place, right? We had did everything we did was, we stayed well, all the tourists was. We didn't go into the communities with the people and learn and speak to them. We went scuba diving and stuff like that, but I still felt like something was missing, man.
Man, I feel you. I feel you on that. I feel you on that. I think, man, I think for me that's important. So you brought up another good point. Immersing yourself in the culture. A lot of people, I feel like we get the American privilege. That blue book that we got is powerful. If y'all
Oh
don't
yeah,
know, that blue book
oh
is
yeah,
powerful. They treat
very.
us different. So when you outside the country, it's not a white black thing. It's an American thing. You're
Yeah.
American. They're gonna make sure that you're taken care of. So my question to you, brother, is what's some of your methods when you go to these different countries? And if you want to share a certain experience with a country, that's fine too. But how do you immerse yourself in the culture? Like once you had that experience, how did you immerse yourself in the cultures, like different countries and cultures, moving forward in your journeys?
Yeah, man, simply just by seeking discomfort. All those things that the comfort that I have here in America, I don't want that when I travel abroad. Like, I don't want you to cater to me. I don't want you to treat me differently. I don't want to stay in a resort. You know, I want to be uncomfortable. So I want to stay in a hostel with other solo travelers from around the world, right? I want to, just I don't need a tour guide. I want to be able to walk alone and just get lost and just stumble on a random community with people, so that's sort of what I do. I just put myself out there and just in uncomfortable places, uncomfortable situations, but I've been doing it for so long to where it's no longer uncomfortable. It's actually something that really, gets me going and makes me happy, man. So the first thing I do when I land in a place, I typically don't have like any set plans because I don't like to stick to schedules because I've found that some of the most beautiful experiences and encounters happen from when you just go with no intentions and no plans and you stumble upon things. So when I land, I get situated in the hostel. If I meet some people, we communicate, we connect, we may end up traveling to some places together, but if not, man, I get going on my own. So I take the local transportation and that really allows me to get a good feel of the place that I'm in when I get there. That really allows me to meet some of the locals on those buses. And also it's very inexpensive as well. And then from there, I get off at a stop. I have my Google Maps and I just kind of see where I'm at and maybe some things I want to see. And I just walk, man. I walk the entire time if I'm not taking a bus. Um, and when I'm walking, again, I'm able to just go where I want. I'm able, if I want to take a left and go down a dark alley and end up in a small village, I can do that. So that's sort of how I do all that.
Man, that's dope, man. Shout out, man. Shout out. We gonna talk about El Salvador for a little while too, because
Mhm.
I seen one of your reels. I seen that you was on it. So they got a lot of ways to travel around different countries. A lot of people might call it a chicken bus or a chicken van, and
Yeah.
that's not to be
Nah.
racial or anything. That's just
Yeah.
what they call it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
That's what they
So
call
kind of share your experience. Cause my experience was, and we talked offline, like hiking Santa Ana, for those that don't know, which I shared in a few episodes in the beginning of the season one, is that Santa Ana is actually the highest volcano in El Salvador, and I hiked that. You hiked that as well. We're gonna talk about that, but once you get back to the bottom, you think you waiting, you got vendors down there, you don't have nothing. You
it.
gotta,
Man,
you either gonna walk back down the way you came from, or
are
you're
you
gonna
were
hop into
stuck?
one of them chicken buses or chicken vans. You know what I'm saying? So share that experience, man. How was that the first time you ever
Mm.
rode one like that?
Yeah, man, it was definitely a unique experience because it was a unique but very refreshing and free feeling, to sum it up, right? Because just, when you get catching the bus, I had to use my Google Translator because the people at the bus didn't speak English, right? So I'm asking them like, which bus do I need to take and also how much is it so I can make sure. Mind you, the bus was only 25 cents. So when I found that out, man, I was ready to go, man. I was 25 cents, man. We can ride all day long. So we got on the bus and I was honestly surprised because it was so jam packed. Like people were literally hanging out the door. But when I saw that didn't deter me like that, that it really made me want to ride more of these buses because in that moment I knew that it would allow me to just be here with these people, the locals, right? Just immerse myself in their part of their day to day lives and stuff because that's something that I'm really big on is immersing myself in these places. So that was uh that was one of the first things that I did, and man, it was a good experience. Yeah, I met some girls on the bus, man. They translated for me, and yeah, I would do it all over again.
You
But
know,
that's fishing.
one thing I think that you would agree with, brother, is the fact that people need to understand you being a human is so amazing, man. Because like you may not understand each other, but
Oh
if you at
man.
least try to speak their language, they got you. They
Oh
like,
yeah.
nah, you my cousin, you my brother. Like, no, hermano, no, you don't go down here, don't do that. And they'll
Yeah.
just start telling you, they'll just give you the real of their country, and that's what I
Oh yeah.
love, man.
Yeah.
That's what I love about traveling, man. Like, you
And
can
you're
connect
very,
so easy.
and let me tell you, man, if you don't always say this, there's a universal language that we all speak, and that's a smile. Just a simple smile, man, can take you a long way. But also from traveling, I realized that 99% of people in this world are good. There's good and bad people everywhere, but there's also something that's really important to know is that the people and their governments are not the same. So people have to understand that what we see on the news about certain governments does not represent who these people are. So that's why, these people, when you go there, they want to help you. They're excited to see you. They're excited to learn about you, just to see, oh, you have a beard, oh, you have waves. Oh my God, you have a big nose. That's interesting. Like they're intrigued, and yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing, man, being a human, like you said.
Man, definitely. Man, let's shift gears, man. Let's talk about this, brother. Like, how was your first experience? I'll share mine with you. Mine
Mhm.
was I didn't go to the Caribbean side of El Salvador because I actually have an episode, man. Shout out to Leslie. She talks about the African diaspora within El Salvador and how it's a history that the country doesn't really acknowledge. But
Mhm.
what I will say is your first experience outside of the country, seeing people that look like you, man, how did that make you feel? Like, I know how it made me feel internally. I
Yeah,
was like, damn, like
it,
we
man,
we scattered the
it
12 tribes. Like I just
yeah.
met another tribe.
Yeah, and before I answer that, to piggyback off of what you said, traveling to a lot of these countries in Central America and even Cuba, like a lot of like the Afro communities, they're on the outskirts, like they're hidden away. You won't see them. You have to go out and find them, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So that's one thing that I have noticed. So, but man, seeing people that look like me, I was kind of like, I was amazed. I was like, where you from? You from where I'm from? We speak the
Yeah.
same language.
And they
We
probably were like,
cousins.
habla no
Yeah,
English,
yeah.
hermano, habla no English.
I'm like we cousins. Like it was But this is the things that this is the things people don't show, the things that people don't talk about. But when you actually you see it yourself, you're like, man, it puts things into a bigger and better perspective for you. Like we are literally all over the place. Like there's nowhere.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
good,
yeah.
buddy.
Sorry. There's nowhere that you can go and you don't see us. You don't see our culture. You don't see, the fluence of our food, our language. We're literally all over the place, man. We inspire so many different people, and it's beautiful to see. I just wish more people knew and talked about that.
Brother, you leading into exactly what I want to talk about. Being from Louisiana, man, we have a rich culture. You talked about Cuba, you talked about these different places, but just to give the people just a little background on South Louisiana and
Mhm.
like our style, Cajun, Creole,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, Spanish. It's a mixture of so many different things, man.
Yes.
Like kind of man, dive into that, man.
Yeah.
I'll share this with y'all that'll have y'all licking y'all fingers, man. Let me tell you something, man. Crawfish etouffee, you know what I'm saying? Crawfish fettuccine. Man, we got gumbo.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying, man? Let's dive into
Yeah.
that because one thing about Louisiana that I want people to know is, man, that culture is so diverse. You brought up Cuba, and that's the reason why I want to shift into that because they had a lot of Cubans,
Yeah.
come to South Louisiana. Had a lot of Spains, people from the Caribbean, and that's
Haitians.
how we was able in Africa. That's how we was able to really cultivate our culinary, food,
Yeah.
and why we got the best food in my opinion, in the world.
Yeah. And you see, man, that's
The world, Chris.
that's
The world.
that's a testament to just how powerful and diversity is. Having all these diverse cultures come into Louisiana and bring their ingredients, their dishes, their language, their religion, whatever, and just merge it together. That is what makes things so unique and so beautiful, man. And that is why Louisiana is such a unique place. But just to kind of talk about like the Cajuns and Creoles, man. I always tell people that when people think of Louisiana, they think of New Orleans. And that's all fine and dandy. But if you want to experience the real Louisiana, just like any other country, you have to come to those rural areas, like where you're from, where I'm from, those smaller towns where people just pass by, those towns where people just fly over instead of just stopping in. That's where you're gonna find the real Louisiana, the real food, and the real people, man. A little bit about the Cajun and Creole culture and heritage. I think that one thing that people really don't understand is that the terms are used interchangeably because I know from my ancestry, I am a genealogist as well too. I've been researching my family for over 10 years. I do have ancestors who were Cajuns, right? But I identify as a Creole. So that's how it is in Louisiana. We all like the Spanish came, there were some Africans came, Germans, there were some Dutch in our area as well too. They came, they intermarried with one another, and that's how things just started to kind of come together. And that's why it's so convoluted, in the sense our culture, and it's complicated, but it's beautiful. But, again, they all brought their own dishes and stuff, and that's how gumbo came about. The Africans brought the okra and stuff, threw that
Yep.
in there,
Okra.
the red beans came in, the etouffee came in, um, and then the Cajuns, they brought in the stuff from the swamps, the fried frogs and the alligator and stuff,
Yep.
all that, so yeah, and the Cajuns, they're fighting, and they're trying to preserve their culture, man, and their language. And I actually met with the guy, Mr. Ray Landry, a few weeks ago in Louisiana at Vermilionville, and I had to sit down with him. We talked, and he talked in some Cajun French to me, man, and it was so refreshing. But what people don't understand is, because a lot of people wonder why more of us don't speak French in that area, is because they were taught in the 1900s in school to not speak French. You could not speak French because A, it was a way of, you know, they want to have you in check, but B, they want to know what you're
Hmm.
talking about. So even in my family, the only person that speaks French is my grandmother, but coming up as a child, when they would speak that French Creole, it was because they didn't want you to know what they were talking about. So they didn't teach you the French Creole, because if they did, you would know who and what they were talking about. So, we kind of lost that, but a lot of us are still fighting to bring it back and preserve it, man, because it's such a rich and beautiful culture, man, and it needs to be preserved.
Man, definitely, man. You talked about something that I feel like the people in the lost tribe. When I guys, for those that don't know, when I say people in the lost tribe, I just mean people that don't necessarily know where they come from. You do, but what I mean is like Ebonics is so important in our culture, man. So I do commend you on you and your other family members on wanting to get that language back, because that's what I feel like is missing sometimes in our families, man, is that Ebonics. Like, we can't switch to the other language and start talking. But when we go to these hair stores, when we go to these massage parlors, to these nail salons, and these people are speaking in their native language, sometimes it makes me jealous. Not jealous at their culture, but jealous that I wish I
You
had
wish
that.
you had it,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? To preserve that, to be able to speak and have those ebonics within the family. So, man, I just commend you on that as well. I want to commend you on that, man, for keeping it going. Man, I want to shift gears into, let's talk about your experience backpacking across Europe. How did that trip come about? Where did you go? Some things that you can share, some experiences that you can share from that regard on your backpacking experience through Europe.
Mhm. So yeah, man, I started backpacking about, was it 3, 4 years ago? And again, that was just after graduating college. COVID had just kind of somewhat subsided, but there were still some regulations and restrictions in place. And I was really on this journey of self-discovery, man. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted out of life. I didn't know, I didn't know nothing. I just know that I wanted to get out there and see the world, and I needed it to be cheap. So my thought process was, man, I don't have a lot of money. I can't afford to pay for a $700 trip back and forth to Germany, then come back and go to Switzerland. So in my mind, I say, well, it's logic. The best thing to do is just fly there, pay that one round trip ticket, which will be my biggest expense, and see as much as I can within a certain amount of time. And that's also how that backpacking trip, came about. And I'll be honest with you. When I took that trip, I was nervous because it was my first time in Europe, and I thought I would face like a lot of racism and stuff, and people wouldn't welcome me. And honestly, that wasn't my experience. And again, we all have different experiences, man. But it was that first trip that I realized that the world, like the sky's the limit, and there's so much in the world to see. And I have the power to see it, and I have the right to see it. And I'm not gonna allow anyone or anything to stop me from seeing these places or put fear in my heart. But from there, from that also came like this strong burning desire to keep going. And I immediately, when I left from that trip, I started planning my next one. And just to kind of go back, that first backpacking trip took me to where was it? It was France, Belgium, Amsterdam, Germany, and Switzerland. And then the following year, I did it all over again, and I went to Italy, Austria, and Budapest, and places like that, right? So yeah, man, it's just something that just became an addiction. It was something that I never planned to do. It just started. I just kept it going, man. So
Man, shout out to Europe, man. Man. How was Amsterdam, man?
Mhm.
Because my frat brother, man. First, shout out to all the brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Gotta call out the frat, man.
Yeah.
But he, to be honest, like his experience, and I'm glad you said that because experiences, everybody experiences different.
Hmm.
He didn't really care for
Hmm.
Amsterdam. But I think your experience from the way you traveled as opposed to when he traveled is completely different. So like describe like some of
Yeah.
your experiences with Amsterdam and these other countries, like because
Mhm.
he didn't really care for it. He had issues getting back and forth to the airport. A lot of people don't really ride cars in Amsterdam. They ride bicycles. For those that don't know,
Lots of
there's
bikes, man.
bicycles everywhere.
That's all.
How was your experience there?
Man.
Obviously, we know Amsterdam. People think about weed and marijuana,
Yeah.
but Amsterdam is more than that.
Yeah, exactly. Man, back then that was my first backpacking trip, and since then my travel style has changed. So when I was in Amsterdam, I wasn't worried. I'm gonna say worried. I wasn't really doing a whole lot of cultural things. Like I was sticking to my comfortability. I was sticking to the inner zone where the other tourists was, right? So I saw a lot of that. And I will say that Amsterdam is a well-designed place. Infrastructure is like it should be like the envy of the world, honestly. Transportation was super easy to get around. Lots of people, they spoke English. So it was really easy for me to navigate, right? I wasn't stressing about how to get here, how to get there, but I also walked a lot because Amsterdam is very walkable. Okay. Um, of course, the minute you get out the airport, it smells like marijuana, but that's something to be expected because it is legal there. I spent some time just kind of trying some different foods. I spent time in the red light district, which is notoriously known for its quote unquote the lovely ladies, right? The ones that be in the
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
that be
oh
in the
yeah,
window and you pay them and stuff like that. So, I had no issues. I didn't really interact with the people there, so I can't speak from that aspect. From my experience, people in Amsterdam, there's a lot of people from different countries, especially European countries, a lot of tourists as well. Um, so they were just, going on about their day. It was limited interaction. So, but overall, it was a decent place. Would I go back? Probably not. Would I return to the Netherlands, but it would be like a different city, like on the outskirts? Probably so. But Amsterdam itself, I think I got what I needed out of Amsterdam at that time. It's and if I had to rank it on like a 1 to 10 of like my favorite places, it would probably be like a seven, like a seven.
gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha, gotcha. Man, nobody really talk about Belgium, bro. Like, how was Belgium? Like,
Oh man,
how was the food?
dude.
How was the food? How was the
I'm
experience?
gonna be very honest with you. Belgium is my least favorite country. And again, I have to remind people it's nothing personal towards Belgium or the Belgians in at all. This was just my experience, man. I think a few different things I have to factor in a few different things as to why my experience could have been so crappy. I arrived really late at night, and it was also around Halloween time. Okay, so then I'm trying to give them a little grace, but when I arrived, man, the vibes were off. And I'm a person. I'm big on vibes. I feel energy. It's those things that I can't explain. I just feel it. It was immediately off. It was very dark. It was very eerie. A lot of the people, they were like, it's like they were on. It's like they were in a trance. Like they were on some sort of substance. I don't want to say drugs because I don't know that they were on something, and that immediately like turned me off. But what really got me is when I got pickpocketed on the train. Well, tried to get pickpocketed, but I caught them. And if people don't know, pickpocketing is something that is extremely popular, especially in Europe, and you have to be diligent. But again, I heard about it, but it's just one of those things where you just like, man, that's not gonna happen to me, man. Like I'm a big black man, they ain't gonna play with me. Yeah, they tried it, and that also kind of turned me off a bit. And as far as the food goes, I mainly ate like the Belgian waffles and stuff like that. Again, stuff like that. But I I didn't like Belgium, man. I would go back to Belgium. Well, not yeah, yeah, not. And let me clarify. I went specifically to Brussels. There's other places
Ah,
in
gotcha,
Belgium that I would probably go and check out, but I went specifically to Brussels, and I'm good in Brussels, man.
gotcha, gotcha,
Just being honest.
gotcha. Nah, I got you, brother. I got
Yeah.
you, man. Man, let's dive into so like I said, budget travel. Budget travel. Like, how do you go about navigating, travel when it comes to looking for the best prices? Like, what's some of your strategies? What apps do you use, or do you use a combination of a few different things? Like now, where you're currently at, 24, going on potentially 25 here before the year is out. How do you navigate this thing we call travel?
Mhm.
Like, how do you find your places and your deals?
Yeah, man. So I'm a natural researcher. I do this on my for work as well too. So I just spend lots of time just like going through the internet, you know, um, just researching like the best deals and stuff like that. But I read a ton of blogs, and I connect with other travelers who've been to these places. So I'll join Facebook groups, and I may ask questions in there, or hey, maybe like, hey, what's the fair price to pay for a cab from London to Scotland, right? And I kind of take that into consideration, and then I cross-reference that with other articles online, and stuff like that, just to kind of get a somewhat of a feel for how much I should be paying for certain things and stuff like that. But as far as accommodations go, I use Hostel World. That's where I book my hostels at.
Right,
Hostels
gotcha.
are essentially, it's like a dorm room, and you share a room with other solo travelers, and they're extremely inexpensive. You can pay as low as $7 per night, and a lot of them have breakfast included as well too. As far as my transportation goes, I literally figure that out once I get there, and I use Google Maps, which kind of helps me find like the bus routes and train routes and stuff like that. But as far as like finding the best deals, I would say not a whole lot goes into it now because I've been doing it for so long, right? Um,
Got-
so yeah, that's just essentially what it is. And then, how I also save money is by doing things solo. I don't hire guides. I don't book the tours. I just go out and I do things on my own. Like one of the countries I'm heading to soon, which is Iraq. A lot of the people, they want you to book guides and tours, which is like thousands of dollars. But a lot of
Hold on, brother. Pause, brother. Pause, because I people gonna want me to pause. Did you just say Iraq?
yeah, 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 yeah.
What your family got to say about
Oh
that?
man,
They probably like Dante, like, bro, what you thinking? Like,
dude, man, my family, they're supportive, but of course, I think naturally, as they love me, they're concerned, right? And a lot of people are concerned because, from what they've heard, the limited knowledge of Iraq, right? We only hear of Iraq from what we see on the news, and that's only a small percentage of the truth. So yeah, they're very supportive. Yes, they're concerned. So it's like it's very mixed, with them, but they'll be fine,
yeah, yeah, because we got a little history with them, bro.
man.
That's why,
Yeah, no.
man. You know what? Share your location with me when you go, dog,
Oh yeah, man.
so I
Nah,
can know you straight over
yeah,
there, bro. You know what
nah,
I'm
man.
saying?
It's yeah, man. It's I wish it'd be good though.
Which we laughing about it, y'all. We joking about it, but that is a good practice. To share your location.
Absolutely.
With your family members on via WhatsApp or Google, whatever. Whatever. Just in case something
Yeah,
happens. You know what I'm saying? That is something good to do that I do recommend, especially for first time travelers, to at least share it with 4 to 5 people at least.
absolutely. Yeah, and
In case something happens.
and share your itinerary with people. Let people know where you're staying. Give someone a copy of your passport. Make a copy of your passport as well too, just in case you lose it. You need to go to the embassy and get an emergency passport. Have that readily available. Also, keep your cash and cards separate. Don't carry everything together, just in case someone steals your purse. At least you have some backup cash back at your hotel or in your backpack. You just have to be very smart and strategic when you travel and outsmart those people.
I do gotta say this, man, because people going, they thinking the same thing. When I think Hostel, I think the gory movie Hostel 1 and 2, bro. So, man, just give people the vibes, man,
Man,
because everything I see online, man, Hostels are a vibe.
man.
Like,
Let me,
it's a vibe. You meet so many great people. I have never done a hostel. I'm more of an Airbnb person.
mhm,
I do want to try a hostel here coming up pretty soon.
mhm.
Once I travel back to Central America, I am more of an Airbnb person. So dive quickly,
Yeah,
man, into the
yeah.
hostile
Let me
I'm sorry,
The
hostile
hostel, yeah. So
environment.
let me tell you, there's different types of hostels. There's a party hostel, there's a chill hostel, there's a family hostel, there's hostels for older people, right? They don't specifically say this, but certain demographics gravitate to certain hostels. So it depends on the type of experience you want. Hostels are essentially when you think of a dorm room in college, think of a shared room with bunk beds, right? The bunk beds have curtains, you can for some privacy. There's sheets, there's pillows, there's everything you need, like to charge your phone. And there's lockers in there so you can lock all your personal belongings in there and just go. So there's an area for breakfast, right? They give you free breakfast. There's areas to shower. Some of the showers are shared showers. Some of them have like the showers, like with just a ton of different stalls and stuff within the bathroom. There's some places have like game rooms, right? Some places have lounges, so you can come in and connect with other travelers. But man, essentially, a hostel is just a way of just meeting other like-minded people. And 9 times out of 10, the people who are in hostels are also solo travelers. So you're more and they are more inclined to make these connections with you because you all are alone, right? And let me tell you, some of the best experience that I've had and some of the best people that I've met that I'm still friends with till this day, I met them in hostels. And we met on like as strangers with backpacks on, oh, I'm from the US. Oh, I'm from Russia. Oh, I'm from China, and then you start talking and you realize that you both share a love for solo travel and you just kind of you go, man, and then sometimes they'll be like, look, I don't have any plans, let's go visit this market together. Oh, are you going to London tomorrow? Well, I'm gonna tag along with you, let me book my ticket, man, let's go. It's a vibe, man. It's not dangerous and crazy like people think it is, but there are steps that you should and you can take to really enhance your safety there. There are hostels where you can book only female rooms. If you're a woman, you can stay with just females. A lot of hostels do have security. They have cameras, so yeah, it's pretty safe though.
Man, I may have to check it out, man.
Mhm.
The last thing I want to ask you, man, is really, really, truly what your message is about.
Mhm.
Like, what's your message to first time travelers, people that's on the fence about wanting to explore, don't really come from that demographic or family background that really inspired them to travel, but they have a passion for it and but they on the fence, man. They riding the fence. And what can you give that person? Just a message that you can give that person to get them to start getting out there and just seeing the world, man. Whether that be domestic or international.
You know what, man? I always say that first step that you take is the scariest, but that first step can take you thousands of miles and thousands of places. It's just a matter of getting out there, putting yourself out there and stepping out of your comfort zone. And even if you have to do it alone, do it. And it does not have to be expensive at all. As long as you just go with an open mind, an open heart, you close your pocketbook and you step out of your comfort zone, travel can be really inexpensive. And I think that a lot of times we take things for granted, we take life for granted, but the way life is moving, life is life, and we don't know when we are going to die. So why put off what you can do today for tomorrow? You know what I'm saying? Don't put it
Yep.
off and just
Facts.
just go out there, man. Put yourself out there, get out of your comfort zone and just go. You don't know where it's gonna take you. You don't know the people you're gonna meet. You could end up meeting the love of your life in one of these countries. You could end up relocating here permanently, you and your family. But just step out of your comfort zone, man, and just go for it. And don't wait for anybody because if you wait for people, you're gonna be waiting. You're gonna be waiting. You want to experience life, man.
Facts, facts, man. So y'all heard it here first, man. So many different gems, man. Man, Dante, first of all, bro, I want to thank you, man, for just blessing the platform with your presence, man, your experience, your stories. And I know, we talked about the 1% outside of the studio, man, but if we can just touch the 1%, a person that hears this episode that we just touch to be able to get out there and explore, then the mission is the mission, and the mission is working. So, man, I just want to appreciate you again, man. I want to thank you for coming on, and like I say, man, you family, man, you and the alum now, man. So,
Yeah, man.
man, I really do appreciate it. I do look forward to collaborating with you on other projects as well, my brother. Thank you for coming on.
No problem, my brother. I appreciate you, man. All
Yes,
right.
sir. Yes, sir. And y'all already know my motto. I'll see you at the top because the bottom is just too crowded. Peace. Y'all have a good
All
one.
right, guys.
Peace and blessings.